The Sith infiltrator screamed through dimensions it was never meant to traverse. Darth Maul gripped the pilot controls as reality itself seemed to reject his vessel, hyperspace tearing apart in fractal patterns that burned his force-sensitive mind. The ship had been in mid-jump when something, a rupture, an anomaly, a wound in space, caught them like a riptide. Now, crimson warning lights bathed the cockpit as unknown physics shredded his shields. Then, with a violent lurch that even his force-enhanced reflexes couldn't compensate for, the infiltrator punched through into normal space. Wrong space. Maul's yellow eyes narrowed as his tactical display lit up with data that made no sense. The stars were wrong, the energy signatures were wrong, and the massive ring-world structure dominating his viewport was impossible. Master? He reached out through the Force, seeking Darth Sidious across the vast distance. Nothing. Not even the background hum of life that permeated the galaxy. This wasn't just distance. This was something else entirely. He was alone. The ship shuddered, hull integrity failing. Maul's hands moved with practiced precision, angling for the nearest planetary body. A colony world according to fragmentary sensor data, though the architecture looked nothing like Republic or Separatist construction. Atmosphere registered as breathable. Gravity within acceptable range. Good enough. The infiltrator carved through the upper atmosphere trailing fire, Maul using the Force to hold critical systems together through sheer will. Below, a human settlement sprawled across rolling plains, surrounded by defensive walls and what appeared to be military installations. Primitive, but organized, and currently under attack. Plasma fire, not blaster bolts, but something similar, stitched across the sky. Maul recognized the pattern. Orbital bombardment. His ship was caught in someone else's war. He forced the dying vessel into a controlled crash outside the settlement's perimeter, the impact driving him against his restraints hard enough to crack lesser bones. Maul simply channeled the pain into focus, converting agony to power as his Sith training demanded. The cockpit hissed open. Alien air filled his lungs, similar enough to standard atmosphere, but carrying sense of burning metal and something organic wrong. Maul dropped to the scorched ground, double-bladed lightsaber hilt already in hand, and surveyed his new reality. The sky burned with descending ships, purple and silver, elegant and deadly, nothing like the angular star destroyers or organic Yuuzhan Vong craft he knew. Their weapons carved through defensive positions with contemptuous ease, and the defenders, humans. Armored soldiers firing projectile weapons that would be laughable against battle droids, yet these seemed effective against the attackers' shields. Maul watched one soldier, larger than the others, encased in powered armor far more advanced than clone trooper gear, take down 3 of the aliens with precise 3-round bursts before an energy sword pierced his chest. The Force rippled with death. So much death. This wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. A trio of the aliens, tall, reptilian, mandibles clicking, spotted Maul standing in the crater of his crashed ship. They barked something in a language he didn't recognize, energy rifles rising. Maul ignited his lightsaber. Twin crimson blades erupted with that familiar snap hiss, casting red light across his tattooed face. The aliens hesitated, just for a moment, their weapons trained on this horned figure who radiated menace through the Force. That moment was all Maul needed. He moved, and the galaxy learned what a Sith Lord could do. The first alien's rifle discharged as Maul's blade carved through it and the wielder's torso in one fluid motion. The second managed to fire. Superheated plasma that Maul deflected with a casual twist, sending it back into a third alien's shields. The energy barrier flared and died. Maul's blade followed, taking the creature's head. The third alien, larger than the others, roared and charged with an energy sword similar to Maul's own weapons. Finally, a worthy opponent. Their blades met with a shower of sparks, the alien's weapon holding against the lightsaber, energy meeting energy. Interesting. But this warrior, however skilled, had never faced a Sith. Maul feinted high, spun low, his blade severing the alien's legs. As it fell, he reached out through the Force and crushed its throat with an invisible hand. The creature gurgled and died, its final expression one of religious terror. Demon! It managed to rasp in broken human speech. Oracle! Demon! More were coming. Maul could sense them converging on his position. Dozens of the aliens, and something else. Something that moved with purpose and power that reminded him of Jedi Knights, though without the Force's touch. He needed information. He needed to understand this place, these factions, and how to exploit them. The Sith were masters of manipulation, of turning chaos into opportunity. A human voice crackled from the dead soldier's helmet radio. All units, unknown hostile at crash site, weapons free, Spartan, you're cleared hot. Spartan? A warrior designation, perhaps? Maul smiled, feeling the dark side surge through him. Let them come. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. In this universe, as in all others, power belongs to those willing to seize it. But as Maul stood amid the carnage, lightsaber blades humming their lethal song, he failed to notice the reading on his salvaged datapad. Installation 04, Alpha Halo, bearing 071. Or the fact that the crashed Covenant cruiser 3 kilometers north was leaking something that moved with terrible purpose through the shadows. The Sith had entered a galaxy at war. And war was exactly where the dark side thrived. The armored figure that emerged from the smoke moved like nothing Maul had encountered in 2 galaxies. Nearly 7 feet tall, encased in green-powered armor that read as both primitive and remarkably effective, it advanced with mechanical precision. But there was something underneath. Maul could sense it through the Force. A human, enhanced far beyond natural capability, reflexes operating at the edge of what biology should permit. The Spartan raised its weapon, a rifle of some kind, and fired. Maul's lightsaber intercepted the projectile rounds, his precognition allowing him to track the supersonic bullets and vaporize them mid-flight. But these weren't blaster bolts, the sheer kinetic impact of molten metal fragments scattered across his position. One grazed his shoulder, burning through his robes. Pain. Real pain from a projectile weapon. Impressive. Hostile deflecting small arms fire, the Spartan reported, voice modulated through the helmet. Male, Maul judged. Young, but with a warrior's calm. Engaging with alternative tactics, the Spartan moved, and even Maul had to acknowledge the speed. It closed the distance in seconds, drawing what appeared to be an energy sword. Covenant technology, Maul's mind supplied from the dead alien's final thoughts, and struck with brutal efficiency. Maul's double blade met the energy sword, crimson against blue-white. The Spartan's strength was augmented, servo motors in the armor, adding force to already enhanced muscles, strong enough to match a Force user's strikes. But strength alone had never been enough against a Sith. Maul spun, his blade work flowing through the classical Juyo forms, overwhelming offense designed to break an opponent's defense through sheer aggression. The Spartan blocked, parried, gave ground. Learning, Maul realized. This warrior was analyzing his patterns, adapting in real time. A tactical genius, then. Good. Maul unleashed the Force, a telekinetic push that should have sent the Spartan flying. The armored figure skidded backward, mag boots grinding through soil, but remained upright. The armor's shielding flared, absorbing much of the impact. Whatever technology powered that suit, it had some resistance to Force attacks. Energy projection confirmed, the Spartan reported. Recommend heavy weapons. A whistling sound made Maul's danger sense scream. He leaped, flipping backward as a rocket struck where he'd been standing, the explosion showering him with debris. Another Spartan, female by the voice, fired from an elevated position, while 2 more moved to flank. 4 Spartans. A coordinated team. And somewhere in orbit, those alien ships still rained fire on the colony. Maul landed in a crouch, both blades spinning in a defensive pattern. "I am not your enemy," he called out, modulating his voice to carry authority. "The aliens attacking your settlement, they are the threat." "You killed 6 elites and a fire team of Marines," the first Spartan replied, weapon-trained but not firing. "That makes you a threat." They attacked me, Maul countered. I defended myself. I am displaced. This is not my galaxy. I seek only information and a way home. The Spartans didn't lower their weapons, but the leader tilted his helmet slightly. You're saying you're not with the Covenant? I know nothing of this Covenant. I am Darth Maul, apprentice to... He stopped. Sidious was not here. The Sith were not here. He was alone. I serve no one in this place. Noble One, this is UNSC Savannah. A new voice crackled over their communications. We're reading massive Covenant reinforcements inbound. Cruiser descending on your position. Recommend immediate evacuation. The lead Spartan, Noble Ones apparently, made a decision. You want off this planet? You fight with us. We're headed for that cruiser to plant a slipspace bomb. You prove yourself there, we'll talk. Maul considered. He needed allies, at least temporarily, to understand this universe and locate technology that might return him home. And infiltrating an enemy vessel would provide valuable intelligence. Agreed, Maul said, deactivating one blade of his lightsaber but keeping the weapon ready. But know this, Spartan, I am no one's subordinate. Neither are we, a female Spartan responded, her tone carrying dry amusement. Welcome to Noble Team, Demon. The Covenant cruiser loomed above the colony like a predatory bird, its gravity lift pulling up troops and equipment from the slaughter below. Maul crouched in the Pelican dropship alongside the Spartans, studying his temporary allies. Noble Team operated with the efficiency of clone troopers but the initiative of Jedi. Each member covered a sector, weapons ready, yet they moved as one organism. The leader, designated Noble One, though the others called him Carter, coordinated their approach with tactical precision that reminded Maul of his own missions for Sidious. 2 minutes to insertion, the pilot announced. Covenant don't know we're here yet, but that won't last. Noble 2, Cat, brilliant and sharp-tongued, was examining a holographic display of the cruiser's interior. Security will be concentrated around the gravity lift and bridge. Engineering should be lightly defended. We plant the bomb there, slip out before they know what hit them. And if we're detected? Maul asked. The largest Spartan, Jorge, whose accent marked him as different from the others, chuckled. Then we fight our way out. You're good with that blade, Demon. You'll fit right in. Noble 6, the newest member, said nothing. But Maul could sense the Spartan's focus, a killer's attention, someone who'd seen and done terrible things, a kindred spirit perhaps. The Pelican shuddered as Covenant fire tracked them. Maul reached out through the Force, sensing the attack patterns, and called out corrections a split second before the pilot saw them on sensors. How did you... Carter started. I sense danger before it arrives, Maul explained, a useful ability in combat. You're telling me you're psychic? Cat sounded skeptical. The Force grants many abilities. Precognition is merely one. Maul paused. In my galaxy, some are born sensitive to an energy field that binds all living things. We can sense it, manipulate it, use it to enhance our physical and mental capabilities. Great, Jun, the sniper, muttered. A space wizard. Spartans are augmented humans with powered armor and tactical genius, Maul countered. I could call you unnatural as well. We are what we are. What matters is whether we survive the next hour. The Pelican's bay door opened, revealing the Covenant cruiser's hangar. Plasma fire immediately lit up the interior. Noble Team, go, 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 Carter ordered. Maul dropped with them, lightsaber igniting as he fell. A dozen Covenant soldiers, grunts he'd learned from battlefield scans, scattered at the sight of his crimson blades. The Spartans opened fire with brutal efficiency, their weapons cutting down elites and jackals. But it was when the first hunter appeared, a massive armored beast with a fuel rod cannon, that Maul truly demonstrated his worth. The creature fired, a ball of superheated plasma that would have vaporized a Spartan. Maul reached out through the Force and redirected it, sending it back into a cluster of grunts. The explosion cleared their path. Did he just... Jun started. Move, Cat ordered. We can be impressed later. They fought through corridors of purple metal and organic designs, the Covenant's architecture both beautiful and utterly alien. Maul moved among the Spartans like death itself, his blade work precise and lethal, his force sense warning them of ambushes before they materialized. And with each kill, each moment of combat, he felt the dark side surge stronger. This universe might lack the force as he knew it, but violence and death, those were universal. Power could still be claimed here. They reached engineering, a massive chamber where strange crystalline structures pulsed with energy. Cat moved to plant the bomb while the others held the entrance. "We've got incoming," Jorge called. "A lot of incoming." Maul sensed them too. Dozens of elites, battle-hardened warriors responding to the intrusion. And something else, something that made his danger sense scream. The doors exploded inward, and through them strode an elite unlike any they'd encountered. Taller, wearing ornate golden armor, wielding an energy sword in each hand. A commander, Maul recognized. A champion. The elite's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. "The Oracle's demon," it hissed in surprisingly clear human speech. "The prophets will reward greatly for your head." Maul stepped forward, both blades igniting. "Then come claim it, alien. Learn why the Sith are feared across galaxies." The duel began, and even the Spartans paused to watch two masters of blade work test each other. The elite was skilled, centuries of training evident in every strike. But Maul was Sith, trained from childhood to kill, enhanced by the dark side, driven by pure hatred. Their blades met in a cascade of sparks, energy sizzling against energy. The elite pressed hard, dual-wielding with ambidextrous perfection. Maul spun his double blade, creating a wall of crimson death, each rotation building momentum and power. Then Maul did something the elite couldn't anticipate. He threw his lightsaber. The blade spun through the air, guided by the Force, severing the elite's sword arm. As the warrior roared in pain and fury, Maul recalled his weapon and struck, one clean thrust through the chest. The elite fell, its dying words a prayer to its gods. "Bombs planted," Cat announced. "We've got 3 minutes." They ran, fighting through fresh waves of Covenant forces, the Spartans' shields flickering under sustained fire. Maul deflected what he could, his precognition keeping them one step ahead of death. They reached the Pelican with 30 seconds to spare, the dropship pulling away as the cruiser's engineering section detonated. The massive ship listed, atmosphere venting, power failing. It wouldn't reach the colony now. Inside the Pelican, the Spartans removed their helmets, a gesture of respect, Maul realized. Carter's face was scarred, professional. Cat's cybernetic arm whirred softly. Jorge looked like he could break Maul in half without the armor. June's eyes held a sniper's cold calculation. "And 6. 6 simply nodded. One warrior to another. "You earned your place today, Maul," Carter said. "Command is going to want to talk to you, Oni especially." "Oni?" Maul asked. "Office of Naval Intelligence," Cat explained. "Spies, black ops, the people who do the UNSC's dirty work. They're going to be very interested in someone who can do what you do." Maul smiled, feeling the pieces falling into place. Intelligence networks, shadow operations, the levers of power in this desperate human civilization. Yes, he could work with this. But as the Pelican descended toward UNSC headquarters, Maul's danger sense pulsed with a distant warning. Something was watching them. Something vast and ancient, its attention drawn by his use of the Force on that cruiser. On Installation E04, thousands of light-years away, 343 Guilty Spark processed an anomaly in his sensor logs. A being had appeared on Reach whose energy signature matched no known species. A being that manipulated fundamental forces in ways that reminded the monitor of the precursor's neural physics. "Fascinating," Guilty Spark transmitted to himself. "I must investigate this development. The Reclaimer may require additional assistance." The Oni facility beneath Reach's surface reminded Maul of the Jedi Temple's restricted levels, sterile corridors, armed guards at every junction, and the oppressive weight of secrets pressing down from above. They'd separated him from Noble Team an hour ago, leading him through biometric scanners and energy field checkpoints that analyzed everything from his bone density to his cellular structure. Now he sat in an interrogation room, hands unbound. a calculated show of respect, though he could sense the concealed weapons tracking him from every angle. The mirror on the far wall was obviously one-way glass. Behind it, minds radiated suspicion and fascination in equal measure. The door hissed open. A woman entered, flanked by two armed guards in black armor. She was older, perhaps 50 standard years, with steel gray hair and eyes that had witnessed horrors. Her uniform bore insignia Maul didn't recognize, but the authority she carried needed no translation. "I'm Colonel Ackerson, Oni Section 2, she said, not bothering with pleasantries. "You've caused quite a stir, Mr. Maul. In the last 6 hours, you've killed 43 Covenant soldiers, demonstrated technology we can't explain, and apparently predicted incoming fire with 100% accuracy." She sat across from him. "So let's skip the dancing. What are you and what do you want?" Maul studied her, reaching out carefully through the Force. She was afraid, terrified actually, but buried it under layers of military discipline. Afraid of losing this war. Afraid of extinction. Good. Fear could be exploited. "I am Sith," Maul said simply, "a warrior philosopher trained in abilities your science would classify as impossible. I manipulate what my people call the Force, an energy field connecting all living things. It grants precognition, telekinesis, enhanced physical capabilities, and other talents." "Magic," Ackerson said flatly. "Hardly. The Force is as real as gravity. You simply lack the sensitivity to perceive it." Maul leaned forward. "But what I want is simple. A way home. My ship was caught in what you call a slip space anomaly. It pulled me into your universe from mine. I need to understand your faster-than-light technology to reverse the process. And in exchange? In exchange, I help you win your war." Ackerson's expression didn't change, but Maul felt the spike of interest from the observers behind the glass. "Bold claim. We've been fighting the Covenant for 27 years. They have superior numbers, superior technology, and a religious mandate to exterminate humanity. What makes you think one individual can change that?" Maul extended his hand. The chair Ackerson sat in lifted 6 inches off the floor, rotated slowly, then set back down without a sound. The guards' weapons snapped up, but Ackerson waved them down, her composure cracking for just a moment. "Because," Maul said, "I can do things your Spartans cannot. I can infiltrate Covenant command ships and assassinate their leadership. I can sense their troop movements before they materialize. I can turn their own religious fervor against them." He paused. "And because I've already proven my value. Noble Team is alive because of my intervention. That cruiser is destroyed because I cleared their path." Ackerson stood, pacing now. "Let's say I believe you. Let's say Oni gives you access to our slipspace research. What's to stop you from taking what you need and disappearing?" "Nothing," Maul admitted, "except that I require extensive technical data, manufacturing capability, and time. Resources I cannot acquire alone on a planet under siege." He met her gaze. "I am practical, Colonel. An alliance serves both our interests. You gain a weapon against the Covenant. I gain the means to return home. A weapon we can't control. You cannot control your Spartans either," Maul countered. "Yet you deploy them because they're effective. I offer the same calculation." The door opened again. A man entered. Civilian clothes, but with a military bearing. Younger than Ackerson, with the calculating eyes of someone who dealt in secrets for a living. He carried a datapad displaying Maul's earlier combat footage. "Dr. Halsey wants him," the man said, without preamble. "The Spartan 2 program could benefit from studying his abilities. If there's a genetic component—" "I am not a laboratory specimen," Maul interrupted, his voice dropping to a dangerous tone. "And you would find me resistant to involuntary examination." The man smiled thinly. "Of course. I'm simply noting that your unique capabilities raise questions. How you manipulate gravitational fields, predict outcomes, enhance physical performance beyond chemical augmentation." He set the datapad on the table. "It's not magic, as you said. There must be a mechanism, an organ, a genetic marker, a neurological difference." "There is," Maul said, "but it cannot be replicated in your species, not without generations of selective breeding and training from infancy." The force runs in bloodlines. It manifests in perhaps 1 in a million births. And even among those rare individuals, only intensive training from childhood unlocks its full potential. Ackerson and the newcomer exchanged glances. Maul recognized the expression. They were already calculating how to test his claims, how to extract value beyond his combat effectiveness. "There's another complication," Ackerson said. "The Covenant is broadcasting something about you, calling you the Oracle's demon. Their religious leaders seem to think you're either a sign from their gods or a test of faith." She pulled up a translated transmission. "The Prophet of Truth himself has placed a bounty on your capture. Alive." That was interesting. Maul had encountered religious zealots before, the Night Sisters of Dathomir, various force cults. But this covenant seemed particularly fervent. A theocracy united by belief in a great journey. Beliefs could be manipulated. Maul had learned that from Sidious. "Let them come," he said. "Every warrior they send against me is one less attacking your colonies." Or, the unnamed man suggested, "We use you as bait, draw out their leadership. The prophets rarely leave high charity. But for a prize like you?" Maul felt the dark side surge with approval. Yes, this man understood the value of manipulation, of turning enemy obsession into vulnerability. A kindred spirit in philosophy, if not methodology. "What's your name?" Maul asked. "Parangoski, Oni Section 0. The man, Parangoski, leaned against the wall. "I run the operations that officially don't exist, and I think you and I could accomplish remarkable things together, Mr. Maul." Before Maul could respond, alarms shrieked through the facility. Red emergency lighting flooded the corridors. Ackerson's communication device crackled with frantic reports. "Covenant supercarrier just dropped out of slip space. Multiple cruiser escorts. They're launching drop pods toward this facility." "How did they find us?" Ackerson demanded. "This space is black site classified." Maul closed his eyes, reaching out through the force. He could sense them. Thousands of Covenant soldiers, fanatical devotion burning like stars in the dark. And among them, something that focused entirely on him. Not the facility, not the UNSC, him. "They're tracking me," Maul said, standing. "Something about my abilities registers on their sensors." "Or someone told them where you are," Parangoski added grimly. "We have a leak." The building shuddered as the first plasma bombardment struck the upper levels. Structural supports groaned. Somewhere above, people were dying. Ackerson made a decision. "Get him to the artifact vault. If the Covenant wants him badly enough to risk a full assault on Reach, they don't get to have him." She turned to Maul. "There's something down there I need you to see anyway. Something we pulled from a Forerunner site." "Forerunner?" Maul asked as they ran through collapsing corridors. "The race that built the Halos," Parangoski explained, somehow keeping pace despite lacking Maul's force-enhanced speed. "Ancient civilization, vastly superior technology, mysteriously extinct. We've been reverse engineering their artifacts for years. They descended deeper, past security levels that required retinal scans and genetic verification. The guards here wore heavier armor, carried experimental weapons. Whatever was stored in this vault, Oni considered it valuable enough to defend with their best. The vault door was 10 feet of reinforced titanium and energy shielding. It opened to reveal a chamber filled with artifacts, strange geometric objects that hummed with dormant power, crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light, and in the center, suspended in a stasis field, a perfect sphere of swirling energy. Maul felt it immediately. The Force responded to this object, resonating in ways he'd never experienced. It wasn't alive exactly, but it wasn't purely technological either. It existed in that liminal space between matter and energy, thought and reality. "We call it a luminary," Ackerson said. "Forerunner navigation device, we think. It activates in the presence of certain individuals. Reclaimers, the AI called them." "What AI?" Maul asked, though he already suspected. A holographic figure materialized. A small, spherical robot with a single glowing eye. "Greetings. I am 343 Guilty Spark, Monitor of Installation 04, and you, Organic, are most fascinating indeed." The monitor floated closer, scanning Maul with visible light beams. Your energy signature is unprecedented. Not Forerunner, not human, not Covenant, not even Precursor. You manipulate fundamental forces through biological interface. Marvelous. The librarian would have found you absolutely captivating. The librarian? Maul echoed. Ancient Forerunner, Parangoski supplied. Dead for 100,000 years. The monitor is eccentric. I am perfectly functional, Guilty Spark protested, and I must insist that this organic accompany me to installation EO4. The Halo array requires testing, and someone with his unique capabilities could prove invaluable to... The ceiling exploded. Covenant drop pods crashed through reinforced concrete and steel, spilling elites in golden armor into the vault. But these were different from the soldiers Maul had fought before. Their armor bore religious iconography, and they moved with the precision of fanatics utterly certain of their cause. "The demon!" one roared. "The prophets demand him whole. Subdue, but do not kill." Maul's lightsaber ignited as he stepped in front of Ackerson and Parangoski. "They can try." The Zealots attacked as one, energy swords blazing. Maul met them with Juyo's furious assault, his double blade a crimson blur. But these warriors were elite, their shields absorbing lightsaber strikes that would have killed lesser foes, their coordination flawless. One elite landed a blow that sent Maul crashing into the luminary's stasis field. The barrier flickered and failed. The sphere touched his skin, and reality screamed. Maul's force sense exploded outward, suddenly perceiving not just the immediate area but the entire planet, the entire system, networks of energy connecting to installations scattered across the galaxy. He saw the halos, 7 massive ring worlds, weapons of unimaginable destructive power, their purpose burned into his consciousness. Sterilization, the complete elimination of sentient life to starve a parasitic threat. The flood. And worse, he saw why the Covenant sought the halos so desperately. Their great journey was based on a lie. The rings didn't elevate the worthy to godhood. They killed everything. The prophets knew, and they didn't care. Maul stumbled back, the connection severing, but the knowledge remained. He understood now what stakes this universe played for. Not territory or ideology, but survival itself. The Zealots hesitated, seeing something in Maul's expression that gave even fanatics pause. "The Oracle has spoken through the demon," one whispered. "He has touched the sacred ring's wisdom." Before anyone could react, Guilty Spark zipped between them. "Fascinating. The Organic has accessed the Forerunner data network. This confirms my hypothesis. He must come to Installation 04 immediately. The testing protocols require..." "Enough," Maul roared, releasing a force wave that sent elites crashing into walls. "I will not be captured, tested, or used by any faction." He turned to Ackerson. "Your war is even more desperate than you know. The Covenant seeks weapons they don't understand. Weapons that will kill them as surely as they'll kill you." "Then help us stop them," Ackerson said simply. Maul looked at the collapsed ceiling. At the Covenant reinforcements surely en route, at the Forerunner artifacts surrounding him. In his galaxy, he'd been Sidious's apprentice, a tool wielded by a greater power. Here, he could be something more. Here, he could seize control. "Very well," Maul said. "But we do this my way. No more Oni manipulation. No more treating me as a resource to exploit. I am Sith. I will help you survive the Covenant threat." He paused, feeling the dark side coil around his words. "But when this is over, you will give me what I need to return home. Agreed?" Ackerson extended her hand. "Agreed." They shook, two predators recognizing each other's necessity. And somewhere in the chaos above, the Prophet of Truth watched through his fleet's sensors, mandibles spreading in anticipation. The demon had revealed itself. Now, the hunt could truly begin. The UNSC Pillar of Autumn cut through slipspace like a knife through silk, carrying Maul toward Installation 04, the halo ring that Guilty Spark insisted held answers to both the Covenant's religious fervor and the Forerunner technology that might return Maul home. He stood in the observation deck, watching the bizarre tunnel of compressed space-time that this universe used for faster-than-light travel. It felt wrong compared to hyperspace, more violent, less elegant, as if reality itself resented being folded this way. The force churned uneasily around the ship, responding to the unnatural physics. First time in slip space? Maul turned to find Captain Jacob Keyes approaching, the Autumn's commander. An older man, weathered by decades of war but with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Maul had learned to respect the UNSC's senior officers. They'd survived this long through skill and ruthlessness that would have suited the Sith. My people use different principles, Maul replied. Hyperspace relies on naturally occurring lanes through dimensions adjacent to normal space. This, he gestured at the viewport, is brute force, tearing through space-time through raw power. That's humanity for you, Keyes said with grim humor. The Covenant has better technology, but we're too stubborn to quit. He pulled out a datapad. I've been reviewing your combat footage from Reach. The way you move, the things you can do. It's like watching a Spartan without armor, except you predict attacks before they happen. The Force grants foresight, Maul explained. Seconds, sometimes minutes. I see probability streams, possible futures branching from each decision. Combat becomes a matter of choosing which future to make real. Keyes absorbed this. Dr. Halsey would kill to study you. She already tried to volunteer me for her examinations, Maul said dryly. I declined. Smart. Catherine means well, but she sees people as data points. Keyes' expression softened slightly. The Spartans were children when she took them, augmented them, turned them into living weapons. Some died during the procedures. The ones who survived, he trailed off. They're the reason humanity hasn't lost yet. But the cost, Maul heard the guilt beneath the words. Interesting. In his experience, military commanders rarely questioned the sacrifices required for victory. Sidious had taught him that power justified any cost. But these humans seem to struggle with that calculus. You disapprove of the Spartan program? Maul asked. I approve of survival, Keyes said carefully. Everything else is philosophy, and philosophy doesn't stop plasma bombardment. He changed the subject. You should meet the Master Chief, John 1-17, our most effective Spartan. He's leading the ground team when we reach Installation 04. I've heard the name. Noble Team spoke of him with respect. With good reason. If anyone can help you navigate the Forerunner facility, it's the Chief. Keyes paused. Just don't expect much conversation. He's not the talkative type. The briefing room held 24 personnel, Marines, ODSTs, Spartans, and one very out-of-place Sith Lord. Guilty Spark's holographic form bobbed near the display screen, practically vibrating with excitement. Installation 04 is one of 7 Halo ringworlds constructed by the Forerunners approximately 100,000 years ago, the monitor explained, projecting schematics of the massive structure. Each ring is 10,000 kilometers in diameter, with artificial gravity, breathable atmosphere, and complete ecosystems. They are engineering marvels. They're also weapons, Maul interjected. All eyes turned to him. I accessed the luminary data on Reach. The Halos were built to sterilize the galaxy of sentient life, a last resort weapon against something called the Flood. Silence descended like a shroud. That's insane, an ODST lieutenant said. Why build a weapon that kills everything? Because the alternative was worse, Guilty Spark replied cheerfully. The Flood is a parasitic species that consumes all sentient life, converting biological matter into more Flood. They spread exponentially. The Forerunners tried conventional warfare and lost, so they built the Array, 7 rings capable of eliminating all potential hosts simultaneously. And the Covenant wants to activate these things? Keyes asked, his voice carefully neutral. They believe activation begins the Great Journey, Maul explained. Their religion teaches that the Forerunners achieve transcendence through the Halos. They don't know, or their leaders don't care, that activation means extinction. The prophets know, said a voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned. Master Chief Spartan 117 stood in the doorway, his green Mjolnir armor somehow making the already large room feel smaller. Even through the Force, Maul had difficulty reading him. The armor and augmentations created a kind of psychic blankness, like trying to sense a void. But beneath that void was something Maul recognized, a weapon honed to absolute perfection, a killer who'd never questioned his purpose because purpose was all he had. The chief walked to the front, his boots hitting the deck with mechanical precision. I've intercepted Covenant communications. The Prophet of Regret is en route to Installation 04. He's searching for something, a sacred icon that will allow him to activate the ring. The activation index, Guilty Spark supplied. Yes, it's stored in the library, but accessing it requires a reclaimer, someone the Forerunner systems recognize as inheritor to their legacy. Humanity qualifies, as do several other species. The Covenant, ironically, do not. So they need to capture a human to activate the ring, Keyes concluded, which means we need to secure this index before they arrive. Or destroy it, Maul suggested. Remove the possibility entirely. The index cannot be destroyed, Guilty Spark protested. It is integral to the installation's function. Protocol requires preventing galactic genocide, Maul interrupted. Your Forerunners are dead, Monitor. Their weapons should die with them. The two stared at each other, Sith Lord and ancient AI, both utterly certain of their righteousness. Master Chief broke the tension. We secure the index. If it needs to be destroyed later, we make that call in the field. He turned to Maul. You're coming with my team. Your abilities could be useful. It wasn't a request. Maul smiled, appreciating the directness. As you wish, Spartan. Installation 04 hung against the void like an impossible promise. A golden ring large enough to encircle a world, its inner surface gleaming with oceans and continents. As the pillar of autumn descended through the atmosphere, Maul felt the Force respond in ways he'd never experienced. The ring was alive. Not conscious exactly, but suffused with purpose and power. Ancient technology interfacing with biological systems, creating an environment where the boundaries between natural and artificial blurred into meaninglessness. And underneath that beauty, Maul sensed something else. Something hungry. Something that waited in the dark places, patient as stone, ready to consume whatever fool disturbed it. The flood. You feel it too, Master Chief said. They were alone in the deployment bay, preparing for insertion. The Spartan checked his MA-5B assault rifle with mechanical efficiency. The danger? Maul asked. Yes. This installation is not as dead as your monitor believes. Neither is the Covenant. Chief pulled up a tactical display. Long-range sensors detected 3 Covenant cruisers in orbit. They've already started landing troops. We're going to hit resistance. Good, Maul said, igniting his lightsaber for a systems check. The crimson blades hummed, casting red light across his tattooed face. I haven't had a proper fight since Reach. For the first time, Maul thought he detected amusement from the Spartan. You'll get your wish. The Prophet of Regret brought his best. Zealots, Spec Ops elites, hunter pairs. They'll fight to the death for their religion. Then they'll die, Maul said simply. Faith is no substitute for power. The Pelican dropship shuddered as it launched from the Autumn's Bay, carrying Maul, Master Chief Cortana, the ship's AI downloaded into the Chief's armor, and a fire team of Marines. Below, the Halo's surface rushed up to meet them, all artificial rivers and carefully manicured forests. I'm detecting significant Covenant activity near a structure designated the Library, Cortana reported. Massive building, Forerunner design, heavy defensive systems. That's where the index is stored. Then that's where we're going, Chief said. The Pelican set down in a clearing 2 kilometers from the library. The team disembarked into what should have been paradise. The air was clean, gravity comfortable, temperature perfect. But Maul's danger sense screamed warnings. Something's wrong, he said. Agreed, Chief replied. It's too quiet. No Covenant patrols, no defensive positions. Then they heard it. Distant at first, but growing louder. Screaming. Not human, not Covenant. Something else. Something that sounded like agony given voice. What the hell is that? A Marine whispered. Maul reached out through the Force, searching for the source. What he found made even the dark side recoil. Thousands of minds, human, elite, grunt, all blended together in a horrific chorus of consumption and hunger. Individual identities drowning in a collective appetite that knew only the need to feed, to spread, to consume. "The flood," Maul said. "They're already active." "That's impossible," Guilty Spark's voice crackled through their communications. "The containment protocol should have, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It seems there's been a breach. How unfortunate." "Monitor," Chief's voice was dangerously calm. "Did you know the flood were loose?" "I detected anomalies in several containment facilities, yes. But I assumed local security would handle—" "You assumed." Chief cut the transmission. The screaming was getting closer. Through the trees, Maul could see movement. Shambling, grotesque figures that had once been people. Covenant and human, their bodies twisted and merged with fungal growths, tentacles, and too many limbs. "Form up," Chief ordered. "Concentrated fire. Go for the large forms first." The flood emerged from the forest like a tide of flesh and horror. Maul's lightsaber met them, his blade severing tentacles and infected limbs. But for everyone he cut down, 2 more shambled forward. Worse, the bodies of the fallen didn't stay dead. The infection reformed them, recycled them, turned death into just another stage of consumption. A massive form crashed through the trees. A flood tank form, bloated with absorbed biomass, swinging arm tentacles thick as tree trunks. Chief's assault rifle tore into it, explosive rounds detonating inside the creature's mass. It staggered but kept coming. Maul reached out through the force, trying to crush the thing's core. But there was nothing to crush. No central nervous system, no vital organs. Just distributed infection, every cell equally alive and equally hungry. "They're everywhere," a Marine screamed before something pulled him into the mass. His screams lasted 3 seconds before cutting off with horrible finality. "Fall back to the Pelican," Chief ordered. But the Pelican was already swarmed. Flood infection forms, small, skittering things like malevolent crabs, covered the hull, tearing into seals and controls. The pilot was gone, dragged from his seat. "We're cut off," Cortana said. "Analyzing. There's a Forerunner structure 300 meters north. It's sealed, no flood signatures inside. If we can reach it, move." Chief grabbed a fallen Marine's ammunition, distributing it to the survivors. "Maul, take point. Clear a path." Maul didn't argue. He unleashed the dark side, channeling every ounce of rage and hatred into the Force. A wave of telekinetic power erupted from him, sending dozens of flood forms flying. It bought them seconds. They ran through nightmare terrain, the once beautiful forest now choked with flood biomass. Maul's lightsaber carved a path, Chief's rifle barked behind him, and the remaining Marines fought with the desperate fury of those who'd seen death and refused it. The Forerunner structure appeared through the corruption, a crystalline tower pulsing with blue light. Maul reached it first, slamming his hand against the entrance. The door recognized his Force-enhanced bioelectrical signature and opened. They piled inside, Chief hauling the last Marine through as flood forms crashed against the closing door. The structure's shields held barely. Inside was silence. Beautiful, blessed silence. And in that silence, a holographic figure materialized. Not Guilty Spark, but something else. A woman, or the memory of one. Her features sharp and alien, her eyes holding knowledge that spanned epochs. "Reclaimer," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made Maul's Force sense resonate. "You have come at last, and you have brought something unexpected." Her gaze fixed on Maul. "You are not of this galaxy. Your very essence sings with forces we thought impossible to merge with biological matter." "Who are you?" Maul demanded. "I am what remains of the librarian, a personality construct, a fragment of memory and purpose." She gestured at the chaos outside. "The flood have escaped. Installation 04 is compromised. You must reach the index and prevent activation, or thousands of species will die for nothing." "The monitor said activation was protocol," Chief said. "The monitor is damaged by isolation and time. He has forgotten the flood can be contained without galaxy-wide extinction. But you—" The librarian's image approached Maul, seeming to study him with impossible intensity. "You possess abilities the Forerunners never mastered. The manipulation of probability and causality through biological interface. In you, I see a possibility. A weapon the Flood cannot assimilate because it exists partially outside conventional spacetime. You want to use me, Maul said flatly. I want you to choose, the librarian corrected. The index lies in the library. The Covenant and the Flood both race toward it. If the Covenant claim it, they will activate the array. If the Flood claim it, she paused. They are more intelligent than you know. They would find a way to use it. Maul looked at Master Chief, seeing his own reflection in that golden visor. Two weapons, forged by different civilizations, standing at the precipice of galactic annihilation. Then we reach it first, Maul said, and neither faction gets to claim it. The librarian smiled, spoken like a true reclaimer. The path to the library is open to you. But know this, the Gravemind is aware of you now. The Flood's central intelligence. It will do everything in its power to consume you, to add your unique abilities to its collective. Let it try, Maul replied, the dark side surging with anticipation. I am Sith. We do not fall to parasites. Outside, the Flood pressed against the shields, an ocean of corrupted flesh. And somewhere in orbit, the Prophet of Regret prepared his own assault, convinced that divine right would carry him to transcendence. Neither understood what Darth Maul truly was, a predator who thrived in chaos, who would use their war to claim power they couldn't imagine. The library awaited, and with it, the choice that would determine not just this installation's fate, but whether Maul would save this galaxy or damn it. The library rose from Installation Aero 4's surface like a monument to arrogance, a massive forerunner structure of impossible geometry, its walls shifting between metallic and organic, pulsing with energy that made Maul's force sense burn. The journey from the crystalline tower had been 3 hours of constant combat, fighting through Flood and scattered Covenant forces with equal brutality. Now Maul stood at the entrance alongside Master Chief, both drenched in gore that wasn't entirely from their enemies. 2 Marines had survived the trek. The rest fed the Flood's endless hunger. The index is at the structure's core, Cortana reported from Chief's armor. But the library's defense systems are still active. Sentinels, Forerunner combat drones, will attack anything they perceive as Flood-infected, which, given our current state, we're covered in Flood biomass, Chief finished. They'll fire on us. Correct. Also, I'm detecting massive Covenant and Flood forces converging on this location. We have maybe 30 minutes before this becomes a 3-way battle we can't win. Maul ignited his lightsaber, the crimson blades casting bloody light across the library's entrance. Then we move fast. The doors recognized the librarian's authorization codes and opened. Inside was a vertical shaft descending into darkness, lined with platforms and strange technological nodes that hummed with patient readiness. And floating throughout, hundreds of sentinels, their single optical sensors glowing blue. The moment Maul and Chief stepped inside, those eyes turned red. Energy beams lanced from every direction. Chief's shields flared and died under the concentrated assault. Maul deflected what he could with his lightsaber, but there were too many angles, too many attackers. A beam seared across his shoulder, burning through his robes to char flesh beneath. Guilty spark, Cortana transmitted. Call off your damn machines. I'm afraid I can't do that, the monitor's voice echoed through the library. Protocol Gamma-7 clearly states that anything carrying Flood contamination must be sterilized. It's really quite simple. Maul reached out through the Force, not to attack the Sentinels, but to feel the library's structure itself. Ancient systems, yes, but systems nonetheless. Patterns and protocols, cause and effect. He found the central node controlling the defense grid and crushed it with telekinetic force. The Sentinels paused, confused by the sudden loss of coordination. Their firing patterns became erratic, uncoordinated. Jump, Maul shouted. He and Chief leapt into the shaft, falling through kilometers of empty space. The Marines followed, screaming prayers to gods who'd abandoned this place 100 millennia ago. Sentinels pursued, firing wildly. Maul used the Force to slow their descent, turning what should have been fatal into merely painful. They crashed onto a platform 3 levels above the index chamber, Chief's armor absorbing impacts that would have liquefied a normal human. That was insane, one Marine gasped. Insane works, Chief replied, already moving toward the next access corridor. The library's interior was a maze of recursive geometry, corridors that looped back on themselves, rooms that existed in spaces too small to contain them, stairs that led both up and down simultaneously. Forerunner architecture operated on principles that violated human physics, and Maul's force sense struggled to navigate the impossible angles. But amid the chaos, he felt something else. A presence vast and terrible, pressing against his consciousness like a hand testing a door's strength. So, you are the anomaly. The voice spoke directly into Maul's mind, bypassing his ears entirely. It was many voices and one voice, individual and collective, speaking with the authority of consumed galaxies. I am the Gravemind. I am the Flood. I am that which consumes all thought, all flesh, all potential. And you? You are fascinating. Maul stopped walking. Chief noticed, raising his rifle. What's wrong? The Flood, Maul said. Their intelligence. It's aware of me. It's speaking. Speaking? No. I am understanding. You exist partially outside causality. Your force manipulates probability streams before they collapse into reality. A quantum consciousness merged with biological substrate. The Forerunners theorized such integration was possible, but never achieved it. And yet here you stand, a remnant from another universe where such miracles are mundane. Get out of my head, parasite, Maul snarled. Why such hostility? We could offer symbiosis rather than consumption. Your abilities, merged with our collective intelligence? Imagine the possibilities. We could reshape reality itself. Make probability our weapon. No more hunger, no more desperate consumption, just perfect unity of thought and existence. For a moment, just a heartbeat, Maul considered it. The Gravemind wasn't lying. With the Force and the Flood's distributed intelligence combined, they could become something unprecedented. A consciousness spanning galaxies, manipulating causality itself. Then he remembered Sidious. Remembered being used, manipulated, reduced to a tool in someone else's grand design. I am Sith, Maul replied. We serve no one. We rule, or we die trying. Then you choose death. Unfortunate. You would have made such an exquisite addition to our collective. The walls exploded. Flood combat forms poured through gaps that shouldn't exist, emerging from spaces too small to hold them. Tank forms crashed through Forerunner metal like paper. And worst of all, Covenant forces infected mid-battle, their bodies still wearing armor as fungal growths burst from joints and eye sockets. The Gravemind is throwing everything at us, Cortana shouted. It doesn't just want the Index, it wants Maul. Chief's rifle barked in controlled bursts, each shot precisely placed. How many levels to the Index? 2, but the direct route is blocked by flood biomass 3 meters thick. Then we make our own route, Maul said. He reached deep into the dark side, channeling every ounce of rage, hatred, and desperate will to survive. His lightsaber spun faster than human eyes could track, carving a sphere of death around the team. Then he thrust both hands forward, releasing a force wave powerful enough to collapse the corridor ahead. Forerunner metal shrieked and tore. The floor buckled. And beneath the technological veneer, something ancient and biological was exposed. The library's foundation wasn't pure machinery. It was grown, cultivated, a hybrid of engineering and life. Jump through, Chief ordered. They plunged through the gap into the Index chamber itself. The room was enormous, a cathedral to Forerunner hubris. At its center, suspended in a stasis field, floated a small crystalline data storage device. The Activation Index. Humanity's damnation or salvation, depending on who claimed it. And standing before it, energy sword blazing, was the prophet of regret himself. The San Shayum was elderly even by his species' standards, his body withered and supported by an anti-gravity throne. But his eyes burned with fanatical certainty, and surrounding him were 24 zealot elites in golden armor. The demon, Regret hissed in accented English, you have led us to salvation, The sacred icon will begin our great journey, and you will be the first to ascend. You're a fool, Maul said. That index activates a weapon. It doesn't elevate. It exterminates. Lies! Regret's voice crackled with fury. The Forerunners were gods. They would not create instruments of genocide. They were desperate, Chief said, weapon trained on the Prophet. They built the array to stop the flood. It's a last resort, not a holy artifact. Above them, the ceiling shattered. Flood biomass poured through, and with it came something Maul had only sensed before. A physical manifestation of the Gravemind's will. A massive, tentacled horror. Its surface covered in screaming faces and grasping appendages lowered itself into the chamber. 3 factions. 1 prize. Let us resolve this through honest violence. The Flood attacked the Covenant. The Covenant returned fire. And Maul ran for the index. His force-enhanced speed carried him across the chamber in seconds. Zealots moved to intercept, but Chief's covering fire cut them down. Maul's lightsaber deflected plasma bolts back into their sources, each ricochet finding a target. He reached the stasis field and thrust his hand inside. The Forerunner security systems screamed warnings: unauthorized access, containment breach, protocol violation. But his force manipulation bypassed the recognition matrix. The systems thought he was a reclaimer, thought he had authority. Maul's fingers closed on the index. Everything stopped. The Flood froze mid-attack. The Covenant lowered their weapons. Even guilty Spark's frantic warnings fell silent. Because in that moment, holding that tiny crystal, Maul had become the most important being in the galaxy. He could activate Halo. Wipe out all sentient life within 25,000 light-years. The Flood would be starved, contained, defeated. But humanity would die. The Covenant would die. Entire civilizations would simply stop. Or he could destroy the index, make activation impossible. But without the Halo threat, what would stop the Flood from spreading? The Gravemind had already demonstrated its patience, its intelligence. Given time, it would consume everything. Choose, the Gravemind whispered. Genocide or consumption. The Forerunners' sin or ours. There is no third option. But Maul was Sith, and the Sith had learned millennia ago that when presented with impossible choices, you rejected the question entirely. He channeled the Force through the index itself. The crystal wasn't just data storage, it was a quantum device, existing in multiple states simultaneously until observed. Maul pushed his consciousness into those quantum pathways, using his ability to manipulate probability to fundamentally alter what the index could do. The Forerunners had built a weapon that killed to save. Maul rewrote its purpose at the quantum level, collapsing probability streams into a new configuration. The index became something else. Not a weapon. A prison. Cortana, Maul gasped, the effort of quantum manipulation burning through his reserves. I need you to interface with the library systems, now. The AI didn't hesitate. Through Chief's armor, she linked to the Forerunner network. What am I looking for? Containment protocols. The original Flood isolation procedures before the array was built. I've modified the index. It won't activate the ring. But it can activate localized containment fields. Seal the Flood on this installation. That's brilliant, Cortana said. But the power requirements? We'll drain the ring's main reactor within a year, Maul finished. Giving humanity time to evacuate, study, prepare. The Flood won't spread, the galaxy won't die. And the Covenant? He looked at Regret. Their great journey ends here. The Prophet's face contorted with rage and denial. Lies! Heresy! The sacred icon cannot… Maul activated the modified index. The library's walls came alive with blue light. Forerunner technology that had slept for eons suddenly remembered its original purpose. Not extermination, but preservation through isolation. Energy barriers erupted throughout the installation, segmenting the ring into sealed zones. The Flood screamed as containment fields trapped them. The Gravemind's physical form withered, cut off from its distributed intelligence. And Installation Z04's main systems began powering down, channeling everything into maintaining those barriers. Initiating localized quarantine, Guilty Spark announced, his tone actually approving. Flood containment at 94% and rising. This is acceptable. Irregular, but acceptable. Regret's throne tried to flee, but Chief's rifle found its anti-gravity generators. The prophet crashed to the floor, his zealots dead around him. Your great journey, Maul said, standing over the fallen prophet, was always a lie. Your gods built weapons, not paradise, and you were too fanatical to see the truth. Then what do we have? Regret whispered, all his certainty crumbling. If the journey is false, what remains? Survival, Chief said. Same thing everyone else has. The prophet of regret died then, not from violence but from the sudden crushing weight of truth. His faith had sustained him for centuries. Without it, there was simply nothing left. Maul collapsed, the quantum manipulation having drained him completely. Chief caught him before he hit the ground. That was some trick, the Spartan said. Sith specialty, Maul managed, turning impossible situations into opportunities. The Covenant fleet is withdrawing, Cortana reported. With Regret dead and the Index activated in a way they don't understand, they think the installation is malfunctioning. They're retreating to High Charity to consult the other prophets. And the Flood? Contained. Maul's modification will hold for approximately 10 months before the reactor fails. After that, Cortana paused. We'll need to destroy the ring entirely, detonate the Pillar of Autumn's fusion reactors, and crack the installation's superstructure. Maul smiled weakly. Give me a week. I still need access to your slip space. Research. You earned it, Chief said. You saved the galaxy today. That buys you whatever data you need. Above them, through the shattered ceiling, Maul could see Installation 04's artificial sky. Beautiful. Deadly. A weapon transformed into a temporary salvation through nothing but will and the dark side's terrible power. He had come to this universe alone, displaced and powerless. Now he stood at the center of galactic events, having rewritten Forerunner technology and prevented extinction. The Sith endured. They always had. But as Guilty Spark helped coordinate the evacuation, as Chief contacted the Pillar of Autumn to arrange pickup, as Cortana began compiling slipspace data that might allow dimensional travel, Maul felt something shift in the Force. His actions had created ripples. The Covenant leadership would fracture over Regret's failure and the Index's malfunction. The UNSC had gained a temporary respite but knew the Flood still existed, still waited. And somewhere in slipspace, Oni analysts were already calculating how to weaponize a being who could rewrite reality at the quantum level. Maul had wanted to return home, but looking at the complex web of consequences his presence had created, he wondered if leaving was even possible now. He'd become too valuable, too dangerous, too integral to this universe's survival. The dark side whispered its eternal truth. Power came with chains. The more you gained, the more you were bound to use it. And Darth Maul had just demonstrated power this galaxy had never seen. 3 months later, in a secret Oni facility, Maul would stand before a dimensional rift generator built from combined Forerunner and human technology. The portal home, finally within reach. But the price would be steep. His knowledge, his abilities, perhaps even his freedom. The Covenant would rebuild, seeking revenge against the demon who'd stolen their salvation. The Flood would test their containment, patient and hungry. And humanity would continue its desperate struggle, now with a Sith Lord in their arsenal. Maul had entered the Halo universe seeking escape. Instead, he'd found a war that needed him. A galaxy that would either elevate him to unprecedented heights or consume him entirely. The choice, as always, would be his. And the dark side would guide him, for better or worse, toward whatever destiny awaited in the spaces between universes. The dimensional rift generator hummed with power, drawn from a dozen sources: Forerunner harmonics, human slipspace principles, and something new that Maul had contributed from his understanding of hyperspace. It hung before him like a wound in reality, offering passage back to his galaxy. Back to Sidious. Back to servitude. Dr. Halsey stood beside the controls, her expression unreadable. The calculations are solid. 94% probability of successfully returning you to your origin universe. The remaining 6%, she shrugged, could scatter your atoms across dimensions. Could drop you somewhere else entirely. Could work perfectly. Acceptable odds, Maul said, though the Force whispered warnings he chose to ignore. Master Chief stood in full armor, having insisted on witnessing the departure. You could stay. The UNSC could use someone with your abilities. The war with the Covenant isn't over, just delayed. And I would become what? Maul asked. Another weapon in Oni's arsenal? Another tool wielded by those who think themselves my masters? He shook his head. I am Sith. We are meant to rule, not serve. Even if ruling means returning to someone who treats you as an apprentice? As expendable? Cortana's voice carried genuine curiosity, not judgment. Maul paused. In the months since Installation Aero 4, he'd seen what humans could accomplish through cooperation rather than domination. The Spartans protected rather than conquered. Scientists like Halsey pursued knowledge to save lives, not just accumulate power. Even Oni's ruthlessness served something larger than individual ambition. It was weakness, he told himself. Sentiment that would only dull his edge. But the dark side whispered something different. That power without purpose was merely chaos. And chaos, while entertaining, wasn't sustainable. My master awaits, Maul said finally. And I have learned much in this universe. Lessons that will serve the Sith well. He stepped toward the rift, then paused. Chief, when you face the Covenant again, and you will, remember this. Faith unchallenged becomes fanaticism. Question everything, even your own certainties. The Spartan nodded once. Respect between warriors who'd walked through fire together. Maul entered the rift. Reality twisted, compressed, expanded. He felt himself pulled across dimensions, the Force screaming in harmonics it had never been meant to experience. For a moment, he existed in multiple universes simultaneously. His home galaxy, the Halo universe, and stranger places where physics itself operated on different principles. Then, with a violence that drove him to his knees, he crashed back into normal space. Familiar stars. Familiar constellations. His galaxy. But something felt wrong. The Force was different here now. Having experienced another universe's physics, Maul perceived his own reality with new clarity. He could feel the quantum underpinnings, the probability streams he'd manipulated in the Halo universe. Skills he'd learned fighting Flood and Forerunner technology. He was no longer just Darth Maul, Sith apprentice. He was something new, something unprecedented. And as his comm device activated with Sidious's summons, demanding explanations for his months-long absence, Maul smiled. The dark side had given him power. The Halo universe had taught him how to apply it in ways the Sith had never imagined. Let Sidious summon. Let the Jedi oppose. Let the galaxy tremble. Darth Maul had walked between universes and returned, carrying knowledge of weapons that could end galaxies, technology that bent reality, and the certainty that power, true power, belonged to those willing to seize it from the impossible. The Halo universe would remember the horned demon who'd saved them from extinction. And his own galaxy would soon learn what happened when a Sith returned from the dead, carrying secrets from beyond the stars. The dark side had brought him home. Now it would help him reshape everything.